this person is a monster. It's a subhuman. This person doesn't think like you and I do. This person is not going to make sense.
Welcome to Jonbenét Ramsey Sketchy Details Part 13. If you have not watched 1 through 12, it's advised that you do because these are in chronological order. This video, along with every video in the Jonbenét Ramsey Sketchy Detail series, are intended for educational purposes only and are not intended for children at all. So as I said in the last video, that this entire video is going to be dedicated to Manchurian Doll, the poem that I suspect was sent by Pam Griffin. Now, the poem is fairly long. It's 10 paragraphs long. And like I said, the person that wrote it is very well educated. So there's a few words in there that I feel I should give definitions to. And since it's so long and I want to dissect it, I'm going to break it down into 5 paragraphs. So in 2 parts, in 5 paragraphs each. I'll read the 5 paragraphs and then we'll go back. After each paragraph, I'll say the word that, I feel I need to define. And then after I read the first 5 paragraphs, we'll go back, dissect it, and then we'll continue on with the last 5 paragraphs and do it the same way. Manchurian Doll, written by unknown author. They say that innocence prevails, and evil cannot master time, and riches, fame, and fortune sow some evil seeds, which then will grow. To devour the progenitors of 30 duos, some must know that they themselves will out their crime and have. Progenitors means parents or ancestors. Within an old man's fleeting leer, the cycle of the dolls came round. It poisoned sick the world's Yule cheer, the use their own, and passing down the rituals remain unfound. At Christmas break gives time to heal, and parties abound, all wounds congeal, but one. Congeal means to coagulate. At blithely festive New Year's bash, some candidates en route stopped there, as if by fiending toasts and cheer, they could undo the fatal sash the week before. But handlers die, and what to do? With Christmas nigh, the one in lieu did err. Lieu means instead, and means error, mistake. St. John would roll over in his grave to know the smut that crossed his name. Yet Christmas Day he held her near, as if he knew she'd disappear that very night. An elder cleric's errant son, his extent crush now on the run, did they supply the candidates with fodder for the lewd fun? Do tell. Truth blazes in, but from McFar. The hunt team's snare was too adept, with keen eyes placed to guard the bar, the talk of dolls in silence kept. They tripped the truth while jurors prepped, then sacked the hunter as inept, but hunters now the hunted are. That's the first 5 paragraphs, so let's go back and dissect this. So, they say innocence prevails, and evil cannot master time. And riches, fame, and fortune sow some evil seeds, which then will grow. To devour the progenitors of 30 duos, some must know that they themselves will out their crime and have. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's saying that evil is not immortal, because evil is human. And it's also saying that riches, fame, and fortune come along with the price of bad apples, of festering evil thoughts, evil seeds, evil deeds. And the whole 30 duos must know that they themselves will out their crime and have. She's saying that the guilty people will give themselves away. It will be obvious who the guilty people are. But the whole 30 duos thing, is that 30 couples? Meaning 60 fucking people? Moving on, within an old man's fleeting leer, the cycle of the dolls came round. It poisoned sick the world's Yule cheer, the use their own in passing down, the rituals remain unfound. And Christmas break gives time to heal, parties abound, all wounds congeal but one. So, remember when I said they made the little references? See that up there? Old man's fleeting leer. Leer is an unpleasant, malicious gaze. So, old man's fleeting leer. This could be Fleet White or his father. Yule means it's the German ancient Christmas. And it's explaining how they do use Christmas break to perform these rituals because Christmas break gives you plenty of time to heal. And at the end it says all but one. The only wound that doesn't heal is death. So it's talking about Jonbenét, that all the other kids' wounds will heal except for Jonbenét's because, well, she's dead. At blithely festive New Year's bash, some candidates en route stopped there as if by feeding toasts and cheer they could undo the fatal sash the week before. But handlers die, and what to do with Christmas nigh, the one in lieu did Blithely is to be indifferent to something in a very callous and heartless sort of way. It's to be cheerful in times when you shouldn't be. The one in lieu did means the one instead did make a mistake. They used somebody that they didn't before. Maybe whoever they originally usually had to control the breathing device was busy, and so they had a substitute, and that person made a mistake and strangled her to death. St. John would roll o'er in his grave to know the smut that crossed his nave. Yet Christmas Day he held her near, as if he knew she'd disappear that very night. An elder cleric's errant son, his extant crush not on the run. Did they supply the candidates with fodder for the lewd fun? Do tell. Now, o'er just means over, like to roll over. Nave is actually the inner wooden part of a church, but it is also used as name. So, this is saying that St. John, which is the St. John's church that Patsy attended, has something to do with what happened to Jonbenét. Either some people that went to that church also participated in this ritual, or Roll Haverstock himself participated in this ritual. An elder cleric's errant son means the deviant black sheep son of a past clergyman, a past minister, and then supplied the candidates with fodder for the lewd fun. For the lewd fun. Fun? Electronic fun. The internet. This is giving credence to what I said about how I think that what happened to her was broadcast. Truth blazes in, but from McFar, the hunt team's snare was too adept, with keen eyes placed to guard the bar. The talk of dolls in silence kept. They tripped the truth while jurors prepped, then sacked the hunter as inept, but hunters now the hunted are. This paragraph alone makes 3 of those references that I was talking about. It references Mick Reynolds, it references Tripped DeMuth, and it references Alex Hunter. Let's try to explain this, though. So, the truth blazes in from McFar. Something that Mick Reynolds said or did, or some piece of his story, holds true to what happened to Jonbenét. I think we all know what that is, what happened to his daughter and his wife's play. So, it's safe to assume that the McReynolds couple is one of these 30 duos. The hunt team snare was too adept, with keen eyes placed to guard the bar. That means someone inside of Alex Hunter's DA office, even him, okay, so probably him, was keeping an eye on the investigation and making sure that it didn't go down certain paths and it stayed away from the truth. They tripped the truth while jurors prepped. This is a double innuendo. This is saying that either Tripp DeMuth knew the truth or he was about to know the truth and they diverted him away from it, but at the same time it's saying that the DA's office and the police stumbled on the truth and then they know the truth and they found out the truth when the jurors were still prepping. Then they sacked Alex Hunter as inept, but now the hunted are the hunters. But now the hunters are the hunted. That just means that they got rid of him because, he resigned because he wasn't keeping that good of an eye on the case. So, continuing on with the poem. Death's officer perfidy bared, though taint of roofs fast disappeared. No antidote this Snow White spared, the other signs were clearly there. Yet all were hastily interred, and silky dressed, and golden-haired. Truth slept. Of one who died outstretched on high, most gentle hand his swaddle made, and in sepulchral cloth she laid, his arms tucked in, nor twine replayed, round captive limb. This mortal braid is our demise, when angels perish in its vice, betrayed by kindred's galling lies, as purloined justice turned blind eyes, a panicked lapse left unsurmised, clues carried home, already prone, sleep-guised. However, one must study greats, Take, for example, William Yeats, who spoke about Byzantium. No governor could stop the run. Your split in planning took its toll. Your race spun out of your control. Things fall apart. The Antichrist lurks in the head. It festers in the carnal eye, which takes young victims from their bed to suffer that and then to die. Now vacant, half-glazed tears are shed from ambidextrous author's head. One doll, now grown, hides in dread. Another Manchurian candidate is dead. Now, let's go back and dissect this. Death's officer, perfidy bared, though taint of roofs fast disappeared. Perfidy is untrustworthiness. An antidote is medicine to counteract poison. Interred is to entomb, to bury. So, death's officer, perfidy bared. Death's officer, untrustworthiness was shown. Bared means to be exposed. Death officers, that could be the coroner, so the coroner's untrustworthiness was exposed. Though taint of roofs fast disappeared. That could mean traces of rooflin, of roofies, fast disappeared. And based off the first sentence, I'm willing to bet that these two sentences put together means that the fact that she had traces of rooflin in her system were quickly pushed aside from the coroner. The coroner made this fact disappear. The other signs were clearly there, yet all were hastily interred. That means that there were other clearly visible physical signs on Jonbenét of what happened, and that's why she was buried so quickly, and that's why they tripped out when they threatened to keep her body. So there were other signs, and that's also why we don't have the full autopsy report ever, or the full autopsy pictures. I bet you her body shows a lot more wounds. Of one who died outstretched on high, most gentle hand his swaddle made, and in sepulchral cloth she laid, his arms tucked in, nor twine replayed round captive limb. This mortal braid is our demise, when angels perish in its vise, betrayed by kindred's galling lies, as purloined justice turned blind eyes, a panicked lapse left unsurmised, clues carried home, already prone, sleep guised. So galling means annoying, purloined means corrupted, and sleep-guised is a made-up word, but it means disguised in sleep, disguised as sleep. So this first sentence really makes me think that it's Pam, because think about it. This mortal braid is our demise, our demise. So whoever wrote this feels guilty as well. But mortal braid, a braid is when you take three individual pieces and you tie them together, you interweave them to make one thing. This could be because she was silent, and so she is a piece of this triage of sin, this industry. Betrayed by family's annoying lies. John was lying to her about what was wrong with Jonbenét. He was telling her that she was asleep on the ride home. She wasn't asleep. She was already prone with some sort of medicine, rooflin, that had her asleep, unconscious. Clues carried home. Somebody said that they saw John carrying a young girl's body in the middle of the night. However, one must study greats. Take, for example, William Yeats. His poem, Byzantium, is about elite sacrifice and ritual sacrifice. Now vacant, half-glazed tears are shed from ambidextrous author's head. Half-glazed means drugged, under the influence of something. And ambidextrous author's hand is saying that Patsy wrote the ransom note because Patsy was ambidextrous. She could use both her left and her right hand. Then it's ending with one doll grown, hides in dread, that's Patsy, hiding away. And the other Manchurian candidate is dead, that's Jonbenét. This is saying that both Patsy and Jonbenét were programmed multiples. But all of this analysis was pretty much my first impression analysis. The things that, when I first read the poem, instantly stuck out to me and instantly made sense to me. Along with the fact that, so there's the part where it says, when angels perish in its vice. Now we all know what a vice is, right? Like one of these, right? This is a vice. For some reason, the minute that I read vice, the image of her skull popped into my head. If someone's head was being squeezed by a vice and they squeezed it too hard, it could fracture the skull and it would not break the skin. Just a thought. The paragraph where it states, at Blythely New Year's Bash, some candidates en route did stop there by feeding cheers and toasts. She's saying, or they, whoever wrote this, is saying that whoever was guilty, or at least a section of the guilty people, went back to the crime scene on New Year's Eve. If we could somehow, we need to try to find out who went by the Ramseys on New Year's Eve, whether it be quick drive-by or even just standing outside or something. But this poem is saying that the guilty people went back to the scene of the crime a week later on New Year's Eve. So for a little extra fun, I went and took a few of the sentences from the poem and translated them in German, and then back to English. These are the results I got. Now the first one was, as if he knew she'd disappear that very night, an elder cleric's errant son. When translated, it gave me as if the homeowner disappeared that same night, the oldest son of a straying clergy. The oldest son, huh? And the homeowner disappeared that same night? Hint, hint, hint. Second sentence I translated was, the split in your planning took its toll. When translated, I got, their separation in planning took its toll, meaning 2 different plans, 2 different situations. This means that they didn't plan everything together. That's why it was so messy. And then the third sentence I translated was, a panicked lapse, unsurmised, clues carried home, already prone, sleep-guised. When translated, I got a panicked mistake that was not suspected, notes carried home, already vulnerable, sleep-controlled. Notes carried home. And then sleep-controlled to me sounds like they were drugged to be asleep. And John took sleeping pills, and there's even an interview where Steve Thomas is specifically asking John, like, how long his medicines take to kick in. Because John was on antidepressants, 2 antidepressants, and some, like, melatonin or Ambien or something. And we already know that Jonbenét's pediatrician was supplying Patsy with Valium, so it's not like there weren't drugs around her that could knock her out. But what a shame, right? That the one Christmas that John decides to not take a massive amount of pictures would also end up being the last Christmas that Jonbenet would have. I think that's kind of sketchy. So, with, that being said, let's take a look at the quote-unquote last known picture of Jonbenet. I think that we can all agree that the first thing you notice are her eyes. She looks extremely surprised and caught off guard. Not only that, but her pupils are fucking gigantic. This helps to get a visual of how surprised she looks. Her left side looks really surprised, yet her right side looks kind of disassociated, in a sense. This kind of reminds me of the picture that Jodi Arias took of her boyfriend that she killed, this picture. And she took this picture after ripping open the shower curtain and then proceeding to take the picture and then stab him to death. So it's just kind of a weird feeling to that picture, and I kind of get the same feeling from Jonbenet in her last picture. However, I am going to stop at this video here. I'm tired of analyzing this, but there are other points I want to make about it. We'll just take that up in the next video in part 14. So, thank you for watching and listening, tuning in, and please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, God bless. Evil on this scale is impossible to comprehend. To know who murdered Jonbenét Ramsey would be to know what world we live in, where we are.